welcome to Live at Epiphan. It's Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, which means we're here live in the Epiphan studio. And I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm George.
And welcome. Thanks for being with us here today. For those of you new to the show, this show is all about live streaming, video technology, video production, and best practices for content creators. So if that sounds interesting to you, you've come to the right place.
Yeah, so today we've got a big show for you today. We've been kind of excited about doing this for a while. And in fact, we moved to some new digs here to make a nice splash about it. We're doing a show all about 4K streaming. So we're big fans of 4K streaming because we make equipment like Pearl and AVIO 4K that enable people everywhere to do 4K streaming. So we're going to give you a complete rundown on how to set up to do it yourself, but also a lot of the caveats along the way about how to do it well.
Yes, and because this is a live show, it gives us the unique opportunity to be able to interact with you live. So we're monitoring chat. If you want to send us a message on Facebook or YouTube, we're watching and we'll reply live. So send us your comments, send us your questions, and let us know how you're doing today.
Yeah, so we're live on Facebook and YouTube, but one thing to note is that if you want to watch us in 4K, go to YouTube and you can click the little gear icon at the bottom and change the settings so you can actually see the 4K stream, and let us know how it is, because this is our first time going live in 4K as well for the show. So
yes,
we need to let us know if it's working. So
yes, in glorious 4K. So one of the things that George and I were just chatting about is I remember back when the marketing for HD was taking off and HD televisions were a big upgrade product. And everybody was pitching it as stunning HD.
Yes, no, I have glorious 4K.
Well, we're calling it glorious 4K. So remember, you heard it here first.
Yep.
We're coining the term right now.
Yeah, 6 years after 4K comes out, we are coining the term.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so you're looking good.
Yes.
You look very crisp.
I do look crisp. That's because we're in 4K. And actually, we're also here in our new Epiphan studio.
Yeah. So let us know what you think. It's all kind of a work in progress right now. You can see we've got ladder set up and staged, but also set up. And we just set this up yesterday. So please let us know if you think there's cool ways we could set this up even better.
Yeah, we still have the old studio. We're going to be still doing product demos and other types of live content from there, but this will be our primary studio for the Live at Epiphan show.
And another show that we haven't really announced yet, but we'll get to that.
Right.
So today we're talking about 4K, and let's get started. We'll tell you what it is and why you might want to stream it. So most of you probably know what 4K is, but if you don't, we can tell you it's basically, if you know what HD as being 1920 pixels by 1080, so 1920 by 1080. Sorry, 1920 by 1080. So 4K is 4 times that. So Lisa's going to pull up a graphic just to show you the relative comparison. So this green window, there, this green, it's hard to do this in backwards.
This is HD.
Yeah, we're in the HD window here. So when we switch to 4K, we get all of this real estate. So it's 4 times as much data that you've got to get ready to upload. So it's a big difference.
Well, so what is the resolution of 4K?
I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. 3840 by 2160. So it's exactly 4 times HD, and it's 4 times the data. So you have about 8 million and some pixels to do a 4K stream.
That's a lot of pixels, and that's why 4K is so stunning of an image quality.
No, glorious.
Glorious 4K is glorious because there's 8 million pixels as compared to HD, which is only 2 million pixels.
And so the reason you might want to stream it is, like, there's a big argument for why people sometimes try to weigh the value of 4K. And if you are looking on YouTube, you can be the judge for yourself. But the obvious one is just that much more data gets up there. You have that much more color data, that much more clarity that you have to work with. And it might be something about what you were talking about as being future-proof as well. So that
yeah, exactly. I mean, here on this show, we're live streaming every week to YouTube, and all of that content that we're creating, it stays on YouTube as part of an archive of content that we can tap into. We could download those files and repackage them into other video content. So that's pretty cool. If you're streaming in 4K, that means that you are sending the highest possible quality masters to YouTube. So if you want to repurpose your videos and future-proof them, in 2-3 years, a lot more people are going to have 4K panels to watch videos on, and your video content will sort of stand the test of time if you're streaming in 4K.
And so we're talking about where you can stream it, and YouTube is where we're streaming it today. But one of the huge use cases for streaming 4K is for people who are watching at home in their living rooms. 4K TVs are getting to the point where, quite a lot of you have them, and your next one will be one for sure. Which means when you're watching your YouTube app on your Apple TV or wherever else, you can get that 4K image, and that's where you might see a real uptick and a benefit from that quality.
You know, I recently was doing some TV shopping and actually got a 4K television, and it has the Android Smart TV functionality. So YouTube is built right in.
Yes.
And you know, when I first got the TV, obviously wanted to test it out and see what the picture quality is for 4K content. And YouTube was actually one of the best places to go to find quality 4K content. So,
and it's also the only platform, like there's other people like Netflix and Hulu, so the content creators of the world who deliver 4K content, but there's not many places where you can submit your own content in 4K and have it go completely OTT so people can see it at home. Vimeo does 4K.
That's right.
We looked around a little bit and didn't find
Amazon
very many.
Prime, there's 4K with Amazon Prime. Yeah. But in terms of places that you can stream to live, YouTube is.
And then of course CDN. If you have your own CDN. There's a question about bandwidth coming up, and we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about.
Yeah, so Henry was asking about bandwidth. Stay tuned. We're going to be getting to that in just a moment. Also, BBI Productions was asking about the studio. Yes, this is a brand new studio. We're not using the chroma key right now. This is a real set behind us. So it's something that we're brand new in this set. It's still under construction, but I'm glad it seems looking all right. I hope you enjoy it too.
Yeah, I'm very excited. We built this. One of the big things we wanted to do is have a set where we had enough room that we could have these out of focus stuff and do a bunch of set deck from behind. So that was kind of one of the reasons we wanted a little bit more room. The other one was filmed in a shoebox.
Yeah, previously we were like right up against the wall behind us. Now we have a lot more depth to play with, which gives us the ability to create some sort of staged lighting, to create some depth with our light. I hope you guys enjoy it.
So we talked about why you might want 4K streams and where you might send them. Let's talk about the 4K setups that you might use. So the one we're using today is Epiphan Pearl. This is kind of our flagship streaming and recording hardware, and this is basically a beast that can handle a bunch of 4K signals, and you can do switching between them and then stream them out.
I was calling this the Bugatti Veyron, of live streaming appliances. This thing can do it all. So multiple 4K inputs.
Yes, and do switching between them and output that to anywhere you want.
It also gives us the ability to stream to multiple locations at the same time. So on this show right now, we're streaming in 4K to YouTube and simultaneously streaming in 720p to Facebook.
Yeah. So this is kind of if you want to make sure you have a rock solid stream, this is one way to go. But there's another way to go, which for not everybody has a Pearl. It's a $8,000 product. So
so if you're looking for maybe a more affordable way to get your 4K stream going, this right here, this is a video grabber. This is called the AVIO 4K. And this accepts a 4K HDMI source, and then you plug it into your computer using USB 3. When you plug it into your computer's going to recognize that 4K signal just like it would a webcam. And from there, you can use something like OBS, free software.
So all I need is this, my 10-year-old Dell laptop.
Well, I don't know, George. If your 10-year-old Dell laptop will cut it. So when it comes to actually being able to encode 4K video in real time, you're going to need a pretty powerful machine.
So what kind of processor might you need?
You definitely want to have something like a quad-core i7, high-end processor to be able to encode 4K video in real time and stream it. One good way to test that is, if you have a 4K camera and you're producing video content in 4K, bring some of your 4K clips into Premiere and play them back. If you can play back footage fluidly in your editing software, it's a good indication that you'll have good results encoding that video. But if you're unable to play back 4K footage fluidly in your editing software, probably you don't have enough power to encode it in real time. So that's one way that you could test.
You also need a decent 4K camera, of course, and you need a 4K camera with what did we talk about? With 4K output over HDMI.
That's right.
So there's a lot of cameras that do 4K recording, but not necessarily output it over HDMI.
That's
we also find that's a spec that's often very hard to dig up. Like you look through the B&H specs and other places like that, and sometimes they don't list it at all.
Yeah, you definitely need to do your research for your camera and make sure what that signal, that HDMI output signal is. Is it clean HDMI out, first of all? So no menus and overlays. Does it have sound? That could be a consideration as well. Usually, if you're using, if you're not sure and you can check the spec on the HDMI output port, HDMI 1.4 does not actually support 4K at 30 FPS. So you need to have something probably with HDMI 2.0. If you have HDMI 2.0, you should be able to output 4K and then stream it.
So today we're using a Sony a6300, which is a little SLR or mirrorless camera. It's, I think, about $1,300 camera or something like that. So it's not tremendously expensive, but it does give you a nice clean signal.
Actually quite interesting. We usually stream the show using a C100 Mark II, but that only is, that's an HD camera. So to give you the full 4K experience today, we switched over to our mirrorless Sony a6300, which is actually a camera that's more affordable than a C100, which is interesting. So lots of great cameras out there that are capable of 4K. Do your research, find one that works for you. Yeah.
So the biggest thing you need to consider is what our friend here commented on.
Henry was asking about bandwidth. So Henry says he has a cable DSL that can't keep up, and unfortunately that's tends to be pretty common when it comes to 4K. 4K requires a lot of bandwidth, so
it requires specifically upload bandwidth. So you need to find out how much you're getting from your service provider and find out how much upload bandwidth you have. So YouTube recommends between 13 and 34 megabits upload bandwidth. And what that basically means is, so normally we do our show in 1080p, and we send up a 5 megabit signal to YouTube. And that is probably a little bit more than we need, but we want to make sure it looks good. So today we wanted to send up 20 megabits. And then we were advised by the other George, you better make sure you have a little bit of headroom in case you have any kind of service interruption or something goes wrong and somebody jumps on your network and it slows down a bit. So we asked from our IT people here to get a 35 megabit upload allowance. And really that's more than enough, but
yeah, it's overkill, but it gives us the headroom. So with any internet service provider, there's going to be variations in the quality of your service. So you want to make sure that you're not right up against your limit, because if your service quality dips and your speed takes a dip, you don't want to drop your stream. That's the worst thing that could happen. So it's about finding that balance. And actually, we have a previous episode of this show, live at Epiphan, where I believe it's called Bitrate Demystified. So if you're interested and you want to learn about different bit rates for different resolutions and getting your stream bit rate set correctly, check that. We'll put a link to it in the show description notes as well. Now, I see a question coming here from Harley. Harley was asking, will recording all inputs affect output streams? So with Pearl 2, you can record and stream simultaneously.
Correct.
Now, depending on how many layouts you have, how many sources, are you doing picture-in-picture? Obviously, there's some limitations to what is possible with Pearl 2.
Yeah, at some point.
But it is a very powerful machine, and there's a menu in there where you can see actually
how much CPU load.
CPU load.
Today, I think we were at about 20% or something, and we've got, we're not taxing the box very much. We have one 4K camera and a few layouts, so it's not a
and we're recording simultaneously this show while we're streaming it. So we're having no problem streaming in 4K, streaming in 720p at the same time to Facebook, and recording the show on the internal SSD of the Pearl 2.
Yeah, you can see, I know we have the specs, some sort of guidelines published on our website called the Pearl Plays. Have we released the Pearl 2 Plays? I don't know. We've got some, if we haven't released them yet, we'll have them out soon. But we'll give you specific parameters about what you can and what you cannot do with a box like this. And you can do quite a bit before you tax it.
If you do have more technical questions about Pearl 2, send us an email. So you can contact us at live@epiphan.com. We check the email constantly. We're checking it right after the show. We can answer any questions you have about the technical specifications of Pearl 2.
So one of the other cool features that you get when you do a 4K production, let's say, is you get the opportunity to do a 4K punch out. So that means if you have one 4K source, you can crop out undesirable people or elements from your scene, and you can even use one 4K production to do, like, you could do a one 4K of me, or sorry, one 1080p shot of me and one 1080 of Dan, and make it look like you've got a 2-camera setup and that kind of thing. So
yeah, that's definitely one of the cool things with 4K is you can give the impression that you're a multi-camera shoot with one wide 4K shot.
And there's another show that we did on that too, on the Live at Epiphan show from a couple months ago called 4K Punch Out. So if you're interested in that, we'll put that up there too.
Exactly.
So let us know what you think of the stream so far, if you've got any questions, and if you think the quality is great at 4K, or if you think it's just okay. Like, we'd like to know, because this is our first 4K Live at Epiphan show.
Yeah, and let us know what you think of the set, if you like it, if you have any tips for us. I mean, we like to learn too, so send your feedback our way.
Yeah.
Speaking of feedback, we actually wanted to let you guys know in one of our upcoming episodes, we're actually going to be reviewing and promoting some of your streams. So if you have interesting live streams that you'd like to share with us on the show, we'd be happy to play some clips from them live on our show and cross-promote. So
well, and they could be your own streams that you're doing, or they could be streams that you just find interesting or that you have questions about, because we want to sort of analyze them and talk about either things that people are doing amazingly well that we haven't really considered, or things that they can improve upon, either from a technical point of view or from a content point of view. So yeah, send us what you got, and we want to talk about it.
Yeah, we want to talk about it. We want to break down how some of the best streams are done and try to give you the relevant information about how you can make what you're doing improve and continually get better at what you're doing as well.
And one of the things we'll do is, once we have this studio totally rocking, we will use a handheld camera, and we'll go around and show you all the equipment that we're using and some of the everything we have to set up this show.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're watching this show actually on YouTube, take a look at the description underneath the video, because we list a lot of the gear that we're using to produce this show down in the video description. Lots of information there that you can check out.
Mm-hmm. So if you're in Europe and anywhere near Amsterdam, we're going to be there at IBC. We're not exhibiting, but we're going to be there. So if you want to connect with any of our people there, just send us a note, and we'll connect with you.
Yeah, so that's September 14th to 19th. Yes. We'll be in Amsterdam. So yeah, great opportunity. If you want to meet the experts from the Epiphan team, we'll be there to chat.
In October, on the 19th, which is my birthday, we're going to be in New York at NAB, NAB New York. And so you can come see us there and try out all of our gear. We'll have the webcaster there. We'll have a Pearl there. We'll have the grabbers. We'll have everything. So you can come see us there.
Also, streaming media publication. We've been nominated for a bunch of awards by streaming media. I think 5 different award categories that Epiphan Video has been nominated for. We wouldn't mind getting your vote of confidence.
Throw us some love, and when you do so, you get a chance to win a Kodak 4K something.
That's right. Very cool 360 camera.
360,
so we're gonna throw the link into chat. If you guys want a chance to win that 360 camera, go ahead and vote for us on the Streaming Media Awards. And if you like the show,
they can get that camera. They can do a 4K stream to Facebook, which is the only way you can get your 4K stuff up onto Facebook, and we can see how that works, because we haven't done it yet. We'd like to see it. So
absolutely. So what's coming up soon? Next week, we've got our 25th episode of this show. Believe it or not.
Yep.
Wow, 25 episodes already.
So
Amazing.
we're gonna show you 25 things we've learned, and some of them have been wildly successful. Other things have been complete failures. So we'll show you both ends of the spectrum on that show, and I think it should be lots of fun.
Exactly. The whole idea is that we want to share some of the practical tips from.
We got balloons?
Let's get some balloons going in the studio. We've got enough room for balloons now.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. But yeah, learn from our mistakes. 25 episodes. We've made a few mistakes, and we'd love to share what we've learned. And hopefully help everyone grow in the process.
Yeah, so send us your comments, comment on the threads. Live at Epiphan is our email address. And if you like what we're doing, please subscribe to the channel and like us and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Got a couple questions coming in here.
Sure.
Scott wants to know, doing a Webcaster X2 stream this weekend. Oh, Scott's just letting us know that he's going to be doing a Webcaster stream.
Yeah.
Scott, that's awesome. Send us a link. We'd love to check out your stream and see what you're up to.
Yeah.
Another question here from Henry. What about other ways to punch out simultaneous 4 1080p streams in a 2x2 grid? Yes.
Sure.
100%. That's possible. Pro gives you a lot of ability in the layouts. It's almost like using, Photoshop or something.
Yeah,
where
you could crop. They don't have to be 1080. They don't have to be the 16:9 resolution either. You can crop, scale, whatever you want with a 4K image. So,
yeah.
And then combine them and do multiple.
You see, why don't you turn this around? I mean, Pearl has. You've got multiple 4K HDMI sources. You've got standard HDMI. You've got SDI inputs. So there's a lot of ability to take multiple sources, do different crops, different layouts, picture in picture. This box can really do it all.
Yeah. Anything else?
Oh, Scott's got a band called Otis and the Exterminators. Sounds pretty awesome. We're both music guys. We love music. So, share it with us. Something about motorcycle Harley Davidson release. That sounds really interesting. So please make sure to send us a link. Why don't you email us, Scott, at live@epiphan.com with links to whatever it is you're up to this weekend. We'd love to see it.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. That's it for today, and we'll see you next week, Thursday, 3 o'clock, always the same time.
And in glorious 4K, signing off, I'm Dan.
Yeah, and I'm George.
Bye-bye.